So here we go again, another BMW project. I'm a glutton for this kind of punishment. We had such great success with my E92 giveaway, and I was looking for another project. And I've always wanted an M2 since they first launched the car. And I figured, what better M2 than to pursue the ultimate M2, which is the F87 M2 CS. Tear this thing apart, put it back together, and hopefully make something really cool. That we're going to do another one of these things to involve you and do a giveaway on the car, and hopefully I can recover the money I'm about to spend on this thing. But I think I got a really good muse, a really good example to chase perfection like I traditionally do. So all you BMW guys know why I'm buying this, but for those of you who are not, you're probably asking the question, why another BMW? Why another M car? Well, I built my E92 that we did a giveaway here recently. I am in the process of finishing up my 800-mile E92 M3. My E36 is almost done, and I've grown accustomed to having some BMW project in my life. Those of you who are BMW purists may not want me messing with an M2 CS, but personally, I don't want to stock BMW. The whole point of it, the advantage to me of Honda and BMW is the ability to access the massive amount of options from a modification standpoint. That to me is what makes it fun. And doing something like a giveaway affords me the ability to maybe even go a little further than I would have on my own, because I can involve you in the project and involve you in this process of taking something that is sort of a dealership lot car and making it really, really great. I don't know that I want an M2 long term. I'm never a turbo card kind of guy. I prefer naturally aspirated power delivery. This has my very publicly trashed. I have very publicly stated how much I dislike the S55 that's in this thing. But I think that this has to be experienced by me. I think this is part of my long-term car progression. Who knows, maybe I'll get one long-term after this giveaway is done if I do love the thing. I really wanted Hockenheim silver, which is the color you see behind me. I really wanted carbon ceramic brakes, which this doesn't have. I'll explain that in a minute. And I really didn't want to spend 135 grand on the thing, but unfortunately I did have to spend over 100 to get it. I bought this from a Lamborghini dealership in Sarasota for $107,750. These cars have a sticker price of right under 90,000 bucks. And so they're now selling at a pretty significant used car premium. The car has 3,400 miles on it, but it's the spec, it's the setup that I want, at least to start with, and then I can modify it to the level that I'm hoping to get to. And so I bought the thing a few weeks ago, and I've only washed it once. So let's walk around the thing and show you my big plans for this. I think most of you will agree with the choices I'm making. We're going to chase that OEM Plus look that I always am so fond of, and just try to make a great car even better. So as I've done with many of my cars, I bought this sight unseen. The thing that made me purchase this, I think this is the only Hockenheim silver that was for sale that I could find in the country. But the car has largely full PPF on the front, impact areas, which means that I can just pull the PPF off. I was pretty sure it was going to be janky, but I can pull it off and then I'll have a fresh start without rock chips and things like that. The paint is, I don't know if you can hear that. very heavily contaminated. I just washed it. I haven't done the decon on it. I'm learning my lesson that the thing to do on cars, especially if at the speed at which I tend to modify these things now, the smart thing to do is wait to do the decon and the paint correction until after I do things like suspension and engine upgrades and things like that. And so I'm going to defer till it'll probably be a month or two before I get into the paint correction. But you know, the other lesson I've learned is that as long as the paint, as long as the car is somewhat decent, even if it wasn't washed properly, we can fix all of that stuff. And so I bought this sight on scene. The reason I bought it, a guy walked around and FaceTimed me. I always have him show me the door jambs, and as long as those aren't scratched up, then I know at least it was washed somewhat properly, and it really wasn't damaged, so I can repair the rest of it. So other than contamination, there's probably some iron on the surface of the paint. This car is going to correct out really nicely, especially as I take off the kind of janky yellow PPF that's on here. The coolest thing I think of this car, of one of the reasons why you buy the CS, even though I'm going to change the suspension and stuff like that, is this. I think this is a 2x2 weave. But the checkerboard style 2x2 weave carbon fiber roof, the carbon fiber hood, and then some of the other carbon fiber accents that you could always buy and put on a competition car. But the CS, the roof, to me, made this car really, really desirable. So we're going to do a multi-step paint correction on this. I'm going to remove the PPF. I'll decide. I may send it down to Ryan at Auto Paint Guard and have them redo the front clip for PPF, because I know pretty much anyone who buys this car is going to want that. So I may send it down and have that done. But we'll do that a little later in the stage of the process of modifying and setting this thing up. The windows, I'm going to do my normal 70% heat rejecting, expel on the windshield, and we'll do 20% around the sides and get the interior protected as well. But this Hockenheim silver, once I get this polished and coated, there's absolutely nothing on the surface of the paint right now other than contamination. It's really going to pop. So let's talk about some of the engine options, modifications I plan to do here. While we're here, one of the nice things about the CS version is that I don't have to change the gills and the grills. They already come black. I've got IND badges already here with the black surround to kind of clean that up. And then, of course, the carbon fiber hood that the CS provides, I think, is just super, super cool. So in the engine bay, I know S55 is a huge tuning platform. You can do all kinds of, make all kinds of power. I'm not interested in that. I just want to modify it a bit, get a little bit more pep out of it. So this is a post-October 2020 build. And so it has the latest Bosch ECU that hasn't been cracked yet. And so what I'm going to do is do a Carbon AutoWorks piggyback. It'll gain me 70, 80 horsepower and 100 foot-pounds of torque. I'm going to do the CSF top mount intercooler, and I got all the cool carbon fiber stuff from Venturi. I've already put the black line little covers on here that I think they're kind of neat, kind of matches the windshield squirter reservoir. And I did kind of clean up the engine bay in the first wash here the other day. But I have an Venturi carbon fiber cover, Venturi intake, and I'm not going to do things like modify or upgrade the crank hub. I don't think that I'll have issues with that, other than doing the top mount, the CSF black top mount intercooler, and then doing I'm going to leave the stock downpipes and doing just the carbon fiber stuff under here. I don't think there's much more I plan to do other than to just gain a little bit of horsepower from that that modification of doing the carbon piggyback. If between now and September, October, if they do, crack these ECUs, maybe we'll send the ECU out and get a preferred. I'd always prefer to do a flash tune rather than a piggyback. But the engine bay will look quite a bit different with all the carbon fiber pieces. But I don't plan on doing any internal upgrades or running 700 or 800 horsepower. This will probably be somewhere around high 4s, low 5s at the wheels, and will do quite well for what this car is meant to do. So wheels are one of the things that I had in mind, as well as brakes, when I bought this thing. This is one of the hacks on the current CS. So I paid $107,750 for this. All the carbon ceramic cars, which was a huge upgrade option for the CS is that you could get the F80 brakes on the car stock. The carbon ceramic cars are all selling for 125 plus 130, 135, 140. I just couldn't find a Hockenheim with carbon ceramics that I wanted that didn't cost a fortune or had higher miles. And so the hack here was to buy the steel brake car. These are still the same calipers as the carbon ceramic set, and then it's $11,000 to buy an F80 upgrade kit. And so what I'll do then is I'll take the steel components off, put the carbon ceramic rotors on, and what I think I'm going to do, we'll see what it looks like when I'm holding them up next to each other, but I think I'm going to leave the red calipers, do the carbon ceramic rotor, and then I'll probably sell off the set, because the nice thing about the CS also, it has the F80 brake booster, so I don't have to upgrade that. So I'll be able to extract this kit and sell it off to the next guy. Yes, it won't be a VIN included set of carbon ceramic brakes, but I think this is a good way to do it. Plus, I really wanted to make a video showing people how it's done and talk about that specifically. So this one came with the gloss black wheels. The gold ones are kind of the ones to get, I think, on this car, but I think the gloss black looks great. This car came with Super Sports, not Cup 2s, which I'm not sure why someone would opt for that. I think this was a Florida car, but it didn't come with Cup 2s. So what I'm doing is I'm doing a set of BBS RIDs. I'm not sure if the color is going to work, so we'll see. It's a silver, it's diamond silver, so we'll see how it looks on against Hockenheim here. I've actually got the wheels behind us where I denib the tires. I am doing Cup 2s in stock sizes, 245, 265, and I am going to be doing denibbing the tires and coating with Deluxe and setting them up, and I think that's going to make the car look fantastic. But before I do that, I've got a custom set, like a darn near perfect looking or perfect suspension for this car. So I've got a Öhlins Road and Track custom spring, custom valve for this specific for the M2. So Barry from 3DM Motorsport is going to make this set for me. I should have it in a few weeks. We'll have camber plates and the ability to really set this thing up. I plan on running this car pretty low because I am running stock tire sizes. I didn't upsize them. They don't make Cup 2s in the 255, 275, and so I'm staying 245, 265. So I ought to be able to dump this thing. I think this thing's going to look really, really cool. So Öhlins Road and Track, I think, is going to be the secret sauce of this thing. Yes, I'm taking the CS suspension and punting it, but I think that if you've ever experienced a road and track setup on an M car, it's really, really great. So the interior is where it's at on the CS. I love the carbon roof and the carbon hood, but this was one of the main reasons why I wanted the CS. Just these little subtle differences, like the console-less center armrest, the carbon fiber, like the little CS embroidery heater, the fact that this is basically an F80 M3 interior, F80 M3 competition package sheets with the little Alcantara side bolsters and red stitching. I'm normally not a red stitching kind of guy, but just something about this really, really works. The door cards are super clean with the little carbon accents. This thing is, I think, perfect in the interior. The only thing I plan to do here from a modification standpoint is we're going to get the Auto Solutions short shifter. I think I'm going to do the ultimate clutch pedal. I'll do some BMW covers or Dynan pedal covers, and then I have the Euro visors to get rid of the little logos or the little warning labels on here. I'm not a big interior modification guy, but doing short shifter and doing pedals with getting rid of the spring, and because the clutch is super soft with the spring, so removing the spring and then possibly doing the metal ultimate clutch pedal, I think it can make a difference. So, but I don't think anyone can argue this is a darn good looking interior, and this basically feels like I'm in my old F80, just nicer. with the competition package seats. And surprisingly, like, my kids could very easily fit. I've got the seat a little further back than I normally do, but there's a decent amount of headroom in an M2. I mean, it's a great sized car. I mean, this is what I think size-wise the M3 should be. So this is the, you know, the modern what, you know, I think classify this as an M3. So yeah, interior looks great, and we'll do a couple little subtle changes, but other than that, I'm gonna clean it. I'll do a leather treatment, leather shield on here from Color Lock. We'll just clean up the Alcantara, make sure it's fresh and clean, and I'll have a, you know, fantastic driving experience in the car. The Alcantara steering wheel with the little embroidered, I guess, little recessed embroidery instead of a normal like leather strap here or leather section. It's actually under the Alcantara, which I think is a really cool touch. So this thing is really awesome inside. The audio is decent. It's just a great place to be. No sunroof makes it perfect. So let's talk about exhaust. That's the toughest thing. An S55 is a fart machine. So I'm going to leave the downpipes alone, the stock downpipes. I'm going to be doing, and I already ordered this, the active equal length, non-resonated center section. And I hope I don't have to chase 57 exhaust, but I'm planning to do, I bought the Remus Race with the carbon rear tips. And so I'm hoping that that helps with the, you know, the buzziness and the sound of the S55. Maybe it'll make me like it at the end of the day. I suspect not. But the beauty of the S55, the power delivery, it's like the thing pulls like a darn freight train all the way to Redline, which is, I understand why people love it. It's just the sound is brutal to deal with. You have the carbon fiber trunk spoiler, which is already stock. I do have the black BMW badge for here. We'll be sure to keep, I'll save this for you for the winner, the fake carbon fiber Lamborghini Sarasota. So we might change that up to an OG plate frame. And then the rear splitter comes stock. When you do the Remus, you get rid of the dirty diaper looking, big weird exhaust canister on the back of this. So, we'll improve the sound. I'll pull the badge off, and then the winner can buy themselves a new badge if you have to know. I mean, anybody who sees this, all you do is look at the roof and you know it's a CS, so I'll pull that off. And then I did get, for the side of the car to match, I did get the BMW Performance little side blades. And then I may have to replace the front lip. I haven't gotten this up on the lift yet, but I may have to replace the front lip because people don't know how to drive. So the previous owner, didn't wash it properly, didn't know how to drive into with a car that isn't even low. Wait till I dump this thing on the ground. So we may have to replace the front lip. We'll see if I can kind of file it down and repair it. But this thing's going to be cool. OE Plus. I think this car lived on a beach. Lived near the water because I can see all the normal stuff you get on glass. We'll polish that up and clean it up. But I think the exhaust is really going to make this a lot more fun, make it sound quite a bit better. Because right now it was great driving it for a few days, and now I'm already bored with it. It's time to get it low, time to get it sounding better, time to get some more horsepower, and make it look the part. All right, let's hop in this thing, go for a spin around the block, and I'll give you my initial impressions of what the stock CS is like, what I think about it, and then we'll be sure to, in the future, to get you my impressions after we've done all this crazy stuff that I'm talking about doing to this thing. So let's jump in and go for a ride. So, going up for a little drive here in the M2, my initial observation is that this feels like a mini F80. It's got the same engine, it's got the same seats, the same feel, the same interface, because it's of the same generation. It's, it obviously sounds like the F80 with the, the fake engine noise pumped into the car here. But it feels smaller, shorter. It just feels better. I don't think this looks as good as an F80 does, an F80 M3, but I think that it certainly feels better. It feels more planted, feels more lively, more fun. And I will say, I got this car in the rain about 3 weeks ago, probably. And I've been driving it quite a bit. And I would say the first 2 weeks were very reminiscent of when I got my launch. I had a 2015 F80 when I first got it. Was like sublime. I couldn't wait to get in the car and drive it. The way that it delivers power is just incredible. Even stock, before you do any kind of modifying. It's just it was one of those things like most of my cars where I just couldn't wait to get in it. But I'm starting to get that feeling that I'm hoping the modifications will overcome, where I'm already bored with the digitalness of it. It's a very digital feeling car. I've said this 100 times in an F80. This feels like BMW sells their soul in order to get this amount of power, and the way to get your power delivered the way that the S55 gives it to us. It feels as though I'm selling my soul to get it. But I think this time around, with the option of equal length, I think we have a much better chance with, and part of the reason why I wanted to go at an S55 car again is that I think I have a much better chance of this being a better experience because there are better modifications available. There are better exhaust options, and hopefully, we can overcome some of that boring fartiness. Now, the equal length mid-pipe doesn't get rid of that overrun, but at least it makes it sound more like a GTR and not like a tractor. So that I'm excited about. The steering feel, the suspension, I'm a little worried about messing up the suspension on this thing, because whatever the difference is on the CS version of this M2 I'm riding right now, I'm in sport suspension mode, which I find to be the best. I'm in sport throttle, and then comfort steering. I find this to be just awesome from a damping and handling. It's just stiff enough. I feel like the few M2s I've driven, like N55 M2s, I feel like this is just damped so much better. I might be making that up, but I just feel like this isn't nearly as stiff as the other cars, but there feels like there's less body roll. It just feels really good. And so I'm at, the cool thing about this car, I'm at 3,500 RPMs, and I can freight train going way too fast from 3,500 in fourth gear to 5,000 is just fast, really, really fast. The digitalness of this car kills the fun, but where I think this wins over the F80 is that because of the shorter wheelbase, to me it just feels more engaging. Gosh, thing moves, man. I'm going 100. The magic of this engine is that the torque doesn't fall on its face like other turbo cars. So you have that straight line up and then flat line all the way to red line, so the car feels linear, all the way to the 7,500 RPM red line. But this car just feels well put together. Everything sounds like there's no creaks, there's no squeaks. Now, the car has 3,500 miles on it, but it just feels solid. It just feels like a nice M2, but the CS just feels to me nicer. Just have to get rid of that clutch delay valve. Hate that. Clutch delay valve is a simple modification. That's another thing I didn't mention that we'll do and fix that pretty quickly. So yeah, we'll lighten the car up a little bit, a little lighter wheels with the BBS RIDs, a little lighter, unsprung weight, removing the rotational mass and the carbon ceramics. so that'll feel a little better. I'm going to add 100 horsepower. It's going to be awesome. I mean, it's already too fast. I mean, that's moving. But this is the, the modern version of what I think an M3 should be. There's a few angles of this car that I think look a little weird, but in general, I think it's a really good-looking car. The aggressiveness of having the carbon fiber roof is one of my favorite things. But again, I'm excited to chase an S55 again and see what's available now. I put a timetable on this car, and that we're going to pick somebody to give it to late at the end of October, early November. And so the plan right now is to do a giveaway September 15th through October 31st. And the way you would enter is, buy some stuff from the giveaway pages in the store like we did in the past. But the key requisite for me to do a giveaway is I need to put the car together the way I want it. Not put the car together for a giveaway, and putting the car together with the parts and pieces that I would buy if I was going to keep this for 2 or 3 or 10 years. It's really good. It's only going to get better as we fix the paint and do all the things we're going to do to it. Oh, a little gear chirp there. Even chirped it with a clutch lay valve there. Nice.